WNST is here, and of course it's Masters Week, baseball going, hockey about to go, and the NBA playoffs about to start. But this guy covers all things college basketball, as well as a bunch of college football in a bunch of different places, including Terrapin Times and out at Roth Report, where he does some comedy. And make sure you tip your waiters and host on the way out the door. Mike Ashley is with us to wrap another basketball season. And you know, you do a lot with the Virginia space. And the last time I had you on, you were over the moon with excitement about your Radford Highlanders.
Right. And we did. Radford did have a great run. They had that, got beat pretty handily by Villanova, but that seemed to be part of a trend. And the last two times Radford's been to the NCAA, 2009 was the last time. It was Carolina. They beat everybody by double digits too. So Radford needs to get a better seed. And like you said, we did feel great about it. And then the UMBC game happened.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, your enthusiasm off the Radford thing came at the same exact time that UMBC won their game in Vermont with that ridiculous Lyles, like no-look boom, bury your soul up there, Vermont. But that game against Virginia, that comes right in your wheelhouse. And, I'll give you my travelogue. I was at the Caps game that night. I had done a little charity turn with Carl Delmont, my dear partner and friend at Fremont Mortgage. Our friends at There Goes My Hero. He helps me. He had a need. I helped him with Coach Trotz and meeting some fans after the game. And I was up in a suite at 9:25. The Caps were winning like 5-0 that night. They were playing the Islanders on a home and home. And my wife had the game, had the app downloaded, had the phone. Our phones were fully charged at 9:20, and the game was wrapping up. And I turned the TV in the suite on to the game, and there was a George Mason fan in there that had wished me great luck. There was an East Carolina fan there that said, "I always root for the underdog. Good luck to UMBC." And I'm like, I was wearing my UMBC shirt under my Cap stuff that night, just for fun, my Jay Green sweat, a T-shirt that I have from back in the day. And, I didn't expect much. And then I go down to see Coach Trotz. I'm having a beer with Craig Laughlin, and they're in the game. And then they're leading at halftime. And we get out on New York Avenue. We walk back to the car. My wife puts the game on the phone. And, all of that excitement that you had for Radford, imagine transferring that to beating Villanova in the fashion that UMBC waxed Virginia. I mean, 16 may be to 1 again, but never like that. Never like a dog.
No, it was truly incredible. And, of course, as somebody who had UVA to the finals in my bracket, I sort of still had mixed emotions, but it was just an incredible thing to watch. It's one of those pinch me moments. And, I do know Ryan Odom a little bit. When I was the SID at Radford, we used to host Howie Garfinkel's 5-star camps, which anybody that knows college basketball knows how important they were in the growth of the off-season recruiting programs and stuff. And the Odoms, Dave and his son Ryan, were key figures there every year. So, yeah, it was really nice to see him do what he did, a guy who was a ball boy at the University of Virginia, and just the way they played, so loose and free. It was just beautiful. And, after having seen, including the ACC tournament, the University of Virginia rolled to 20 wins and 21 games against the ACC, and the one loss was in overtime. You wondered if anyone was going to solve the pack line defense and figure out a way to beat these guys. And but incredibly, it's UMBC.
I talked to Skeets, and I've talked to various people on the backside of this, and, obviously Ryan Odom may wind up getting a raise and a job and moving on, and that's kind of the way the industry works at that Radford UMBC level. I mean, just to be honest, and especially when you pull off one of those kind of miracle wins, and you have the bloodlines to be the next mid-major special guy or whatever. So I understand all that, and for the university, but, for that one shining moment, as they say, to be involved in that and And I guess at that moment, I literally, the game ended. I was in front of the Washington Times, Washington Star building there at the end of New York Avenue. And I was good. We pulled over in that little area on New York Avenue before you pull out of there just to watch it. And they cut out of the stream right away on my wife's app. Like, there's the victory there. Congratulations. Let's move on to Boise now. We have another game in Pride. It was like that. And I'm like, man, I really wanted to get the aftermath. And it took me an hour to get home. And once I got in and saw what Zach Seidel had done out on the UMBC Twitter, which I know you have a great sense of humor, and you use your comedy and your humor as a platform in what you do, and you were in sports information, that you could have had your finger on the Radford, Twitter the night that you're beating Villanova by 20 points at 11 o'clock on a Friday night, and literally everybody in the country is saying, where the hell is Radford? Where is UMBC? I really feel like UMBC did a great job of appointing themselves. I mean, the whole day Saturday, I was making food in the kitchen on Saturday, and my wife and I had a charity event that night, and they showed up they were on every Today Show. They were the lead story, and I thought to myself, wow, this is Chaminade, right? Like, this is 20, 30 years from now, people are going to talk about this in a really, really reverent, incredible way, because we've all been a 16 in life, and we've all faced a 1. You know what I mean? And we've all watched this happen every year, and no one's ever really come close other than Princeton. And I think it really is one for the ages, man. And the swag. I wore a UMBC shirt through Epcot last Wednesday down in Orlando, and through the airport on Sunday. There wasn't anybody that wasn't yelling at me. It was really kind of fun, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things happening at that school, and it's always nice when you get a platform like this to promote a school that, obviously outside of the region, not many people even know what UMBC is. So, I mean, yeah, it's a magical moment. Now, the flip side of me, a guy that worked not only covering college basketball, but inside in athletic departments for almost 20 years, I the same worry I had when George Mason and VCU made runs to the Final Four. It just sort of ups the ante. You wonder how much more pressure there is on coaches at that level. Now, maybe a notch below that at UMBC's level, presidents see what this does. The board of directors at the school see what this does.
Well, and so keep in mind, UMBC's got a brand new gym that they've played this many games in, handful, And now, and the first thing I noticed when I walked in there, Mike, and this is before they're UMBC, this is back when they were UMB where, I walked in there with my wife, and I'm like, John Mayer's going to play here one day, but this is a really big building. There's a lot of seats to sell here, and I've been coming to UMBC games for, about 25 years at the Rack. And other than that one Sunday when the place went nuts 10 years ago, when, they had that big game there against Binghamton, and they won and went into the tournament, and they won that game going away. That was one of the top 10 exciting Baltimore sports events I ever attended, in 27 years of doing this for a living and, 45 years of going to sporting events. That UMBC day at the Rack was special. I can only imagine how special it really will be if the new building is ever filled and they're kicking Vermont's ass in there, or Hartford or somebody in a championship game environment, because that league lends itself to that sort of thing. But all that being said, on a Tuesday night when they're playing UMES, to think that there's going to be more than friends and family in that beautiful building, they got a lot of work to do. And to your point, it really does up everybody's expectation off of that one shining moment that Chaminade had a lot to live up to after that, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing I've always heard of school at that level, I'm familiar with the Big South, of course, which UMBC was once a member. At that time, though, everyone told us UMBC stood for "you made a bad choice." And of course, that's no longer true. But your admission,
I haven't heard that one, dude, and I'm from that era. That's pretty good. You made a bad choice.
Your applications will go up at least 30%. I would expect even higher at UMBC for the level that they translated that success to. There really is. It's a pot of gold. It's winning the lottery to get your team to that level where they show up on the office bracket, everywhere. And everybody knows about your program all of a sudden, and they do. They have questions. Well, what is this school? And they might take a look at it, and suddenly it's a whole different thing.
One thing I would tell them is they should wear UMBC on their road jerseys instead of Retrievers. That's just me, but I don't know that if you just put the TV on late at night, you had an association. Obviously, it's up on the screen or whatever, but I think the UMBC part shouts. But boy, I didn't even know. I've got various pictures with the mascot, like lots of them. I had no idea the mascot had a nickname, True Grit. Like, I've been seeing the mascot for 20 years. My wife and I, we're idiots. We take pictures with mascots. It's what we do.
I remember when they changed their logo, and it was like the retriever dog head inside of an upside-down triangle, which to me, I swear, I've seen a dog food logo like that someplace. So I always, I remember, do you remember Pascal Fleury, the 7'1" center they had at UMBC?
Many moons ago, absolutely.
Cup of coffee with the Globetrotters. Yeah, now those are my days when I really knew what was going on at UMBC. I tell you the other thing, though. Shout out to Steve Levy, the sports information director,
of course,
who has been there forever. He was there back in those Big South days, and he'd been there a while when they joined the Big South. And I as bad as I felt for Virginia and so many people down here on my side of the Beltway that root for that program, and of course the Hokie fans will never ever let them forget this, and I just felt so good for somebody like Steve Levy. What a moment! What a great thing for a guy whose hard work, I'm sure, was recognized by the people at the networks who saw what he does for their program. Oh, by the way, I had a thing show up on my Facebook feed the other day, a Virginia license plate with the Hokies, one of those custom plates with the VT on it and Hokies underneath, and it said 16 UMBC. So there's somebody just putting a little stick to all the UVA fans driving around Virginia.
I love that. That's a beautiful thing. Mike Ashley joining us here. You got to take a picture of that one from Terrapin Times, as well as from Roth Report, where he does some comedy and some basketball and things. UMBC, and it took me 2 weeks, 3 weeks now to even think about this. Jeff Bzdelik would probably be the other thing when you think, like literally, when you think of UMBC and sort of famous connections or guys that went on to become, the acorn that became the oak, right? I mean, Jeff Bzdelik has had one hell of a career that I do remember, though. I was working at the Evening Sun, 86, 87, 88, back when he had those UMBC teams.
Right. I remember Bzdelik. First of all, you had to learn how to spell it and pronounce it. So, yeah, that was key. But,
Vanna, bring me a letter. There you say, right?
Yeah, buy a vowel.
Buy a vowel, yeah, absolutely. For Villanova, let's go to the championship side of this thing, and you spend as much time covering the ACC as you do the Big Ten. The notion that Michigan got there, the first thing I thought Monday, and I've said this before, is, boy, this really pissed the Michigan State people off, right? And the fact that Michigan went on this run, Maryland had them dead to rights and beaten in Ann Arbor. And I looked that date up. It was January 15th, so it was only 75 days ago or whatever that actually happened. But to see where they were then, what they became, and how teams improved during the course of the season, and the kind of run they went on, legendary, but also for Villanova, who's been that program, and Jay Wright and what he's done. You talk about small programs. I remember Jay Wright used to call in to little WNST back at the turn of the century when he came in with Hofstra every year down to the Towson Center to take on the Tigers and all that stuff. I have great respect for Villanova and the city of Philadelphia that's won now twice. So there are a lot of great stories, but Villanova as a program in a year where it looked like half the NCAA is going to end the season in handcuffs in the FBI Hokie, or Pokey, I should say. A nice end of the season story, I think.
Well, yeah, and you can't talk about this NCAA tournament without mentioning Loyola Chicago and what they did. I think Washington Post columnist Jerry Brewer said it best. He said they disinfected college basketball, which is that
difficult to do.
Yeah, right.
Been trying to do that for a long time.
Yeah, and I like to say that none of us had them in our bracket. So, but yeah, you're right. As fans around here who gravitate towards the Big Ten now, it was nice to see a Big Ten team make a run like that. Coach Bayline and his teams have a history, back to West Virginia and Richmond of playing their best basketball at the end of the year. I think we've seen that year in, year out now. They play kind of a cerebral game that I think takes time to mesh, and get all your players on the same page offensively. And once they get that going, they start rolling. The big difference this year was these guys actually could defend. And I thought early on in the game Monday night, that was the big thing with the fast start from Michigan. They defended so well. They were the first team I saw that didn't double team down low every time the ball went inside with Villanova, which is traditionally allowed them to reverse the ball to three-point shooters and just drill teams in this tournament. They didn't lose. Every one of their wins was by double digits. So that was a big change. The other thing I thought, people forget how big Mo Wagner is, and he physically overmatched them early in that game. And then they had that situation where there was not a dead ball timeout at 16 minutes. It went all the way down under 14 before they got the dead ball. And I actually think Michigan got tired. It affected their offense. It certainly affected Wagner. And I thought the game sort of changed right then. Of course, also with what Dante DiVincenzo did.
Well, and I think the big picture for me, and even in watching the NBA and being an old guy, remembering when the long shots were only worth 2, and how the three-point line was going to change things, and where the NBA put it, which felt outrageous at one point, and where college put it, which felt too close at one point, right? And the value of all of it, and how it changed the game, even from where Dean Smith was when he came into the game to where he left it, to now where it is, where the three is everything. And on nights when you shoot it, UMBC beats Virginia and can solve a defense that nobody can solve, because if you can shoot it, you don't have to worry about that. And if you can't defend it, you got even bigger problems. And if you don't miss, you don't have to worry about rebounding. So, and all the analytics would point to points in the paint and three-pointers and all that, but it really has completely change basketball into something that feels a little Harlem Globetrotter to me. You know what I mean? Sometimes where the set shot, almost like Minnesota Fats and the trick shot in pool, where if you can shoot the ball like that, that's going to be the differentiator between winning and losing, and everyone's trying to shoot it like Steph Curry, right? Literally.
Well, to me, it sometimes reminds me of YMCA ball, and a leading practitioner of that over the years has been Duke, which will shoot more threes than anybody, and they just have the big, talented, top recruit athletes to go in there and get the rebounds and keep it going. And, yeah, you're right. In some ways, it is not as pretty a game as it used to be, and I'm still trying to figure out if Stephen Curry has helped or hurt the cause. By now, people are extending their range. I had a chance to see Trae Young, and man, I was amazed at some of the shots within the context of their offense he was taking and where he was taking them from. And yet, I never saw Lon Kruger get upset on the sideline about these shots. He just thought he's got a special talent. You got a big gun, you're going to shoot it. And yeah, basketball has really evolved that way. I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing sometimes. Getting back to what UMBC did, though, I thought offensively, their ability to get the ball inside and then get it back outside against that pack line defense was really the key. And the thing we always said about UVA was this first half was so low scoring. UVA had more trouble scoring points in that game than UMBC did, especially in the first half and certainly the second half. But when you think about a team like UVA, what they physically bring to bear in a game like that, they have got to improve their offense. That's where the mistake was. They play such low-scoring games, they keep the other team in the game, and that came back to bite them when UMBC got so hot in the second half.
Mike Ashley has been chronicling basketball and college football for a long, long time. You can follow his journey out at Terrapin Times as well as at Roth, R-O-T-H, Reports online, where he does a special blend of humor and comedy in a special Virginia way, right?
Well, I try and make it good for everybody. Yeah, my big thing right now is trying to plot what's going on with the NBA draft, because I think it's about 40 kids that have declared, and they've still got some time to. I think they've got to April 22nd to continue to declare for the draft, and 40 kids. Hey, there's only 60 spots.
Yeah, mistakes are already being made here. I hear the money hitting the floor right now.
Right, and there's some seniors are going to get drafted. There's always the foreign influence in the draft now with these great players that come over from overseas, and if I'm a college coach, I'm going to make my blue chip freshmen take some math courses, some probability and statistics, and just point out to them that, hey, there's only 60 spots. There's like going to be 50 of you guys declaring. Not all of you are going to get drafted. So then what are you going to do?
Someone's going to get their feelings hurt and be playing in Lithuania next year. Mike, always a pleasure to check in with you. I know you got football stuff going on with spring ball as well. We're going to send everybody out to Terrapin Times as well as Roth Report to find you. And I know we don't talk too much here in these off seasons, but I'll try to change that and stay in touch further on down the road, man.
Okay, Terps football is going to be better this year. Count on it.
Wake me in September, man. The schedule comes out, and I see Ohio State, and I see Michigan, and I'm like, sure, you tell me, right?
I'm just saying they're better. If they've got healthy quarterbacks, they're going to have a chance, which is something they didn't have last year. I just wanted to leave you on a positive note here. Looking forward to the spring game this year and seeing some of this new talent. 2 top 25 recruiting classes coming in. So, yeah, so feel good about that, folks. The basketball season's over. Turn our attentions elsewhere. Let's go Orioles and Nats.
Texas at Maryland slated for September 1st from what I see here. Bowling Green, Temple, Minnesota, Michigan, Rutgers. There you go. There's your first 6 games there. So we'll see how, the Texas thing went well last year.
Right. And, this year it's sort of a home game. I guess it's, down at this Redskins park. But, I think it's it should be a great game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. As big as the quarterbacks being healthy, Jesse Annabonham back to rush the passer, it's going to be big because Maryland only had, 16 sacks last year in 12 games. And here's the incredible part of that. You go, oh, okay, well, 14 of those sacks came in 3 games. So I'm sure there are quarterbacks that drop back to pass that are still standing out there in Maryland Stadium looking for receivers because they just didn't put any pressure on the passer last year.
I'm waiting for the NFL schedule to come out. I'm circling the October 20th game at Iowa. I have never been to Iowa. I have never peed in Iowa. I have never shucked corn in Iowa. I have never gone to see U2 in Iowa, although I have threatened to see U2 and Bruce there. So Maryland in Iowa on the 20th of October. I'll be 50 years old that week, so maybe that's my 50 years on the planet. Never made it to Iowa. Marshall Yonda and company probably upset me about that. So I got to get out. I know the coach, so he would at least leave me tickets. So I at least have that going on, right?
Well, that's a bucket list thing. Turn 50 in Iowa. Yeah. They have lots of buckets out there. Personally, I went to Hawaii, the 50th state, when I turned 50. So but whatever works for you.
They're not on the Terps schedule, Mike. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Is that near Mount Rushmore? Is that drivable? I'm trying to click these things off. I'm going to Yellowstone this summer. I turned 50. I'm trying to do stuff I've never done before, Mike. So that's my thing.
Excellent. We'll go get them.
See you soon, man. There he goes, Mike Ashley, Terrapin Times, Roth Report, and inspiring me to go to Iowa in the middle of October. Yes, the Maryland schedule's out. They go to Michigan on the 6th of October, Indiana on the 10th of November, and then Penn State. That's Thanksgiving week. Oh, boy. Ohio State and Penn State to end the season. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.